Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. And today I have a very special guest hanging out with us today. This guest has actually hung out with us before on the Defocus Media podcast, but this is her first time hanging out with her favorite optometrist on this segment here. Friends and family, I'd like to welcome the incredible Dr. Sandi Eveleth. How are you doing today, Sandy?
I'm doing great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Doing wonderful.
yeah. Well, I'm super excited today because we're going to talk about something that I'm super passionate about, and that's really marketing. And I'm talking about digital marketing in particular and what the true trends are for 2021. And we really know that we have to really take marketing seriously simply because we live in a whole new world. Things are no longer the same. I mean, just thinking about, 4 or 5 years ago, talking about print and then social media, but now there's even a new way of looking at how you should market when it comes to the digital world. And today's guest has all the answers and will really dive deep into it. But before we jump into that, Dr. Sandi, you have to talk about your background because you have a pretty amazing story in regards to, how you got into eye care and where you're at now. So if you don't mind just giving us a background of who you are and how you got into this lovely world of eye care.
Sure, I appreciate that. Well, it started a few decades ago. I've been doing this for 30 years. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I actually started I was an undergrad in, majoring in biology like a lot of us did. And I think I was a junior or senior and I still didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I started working for an ophthalmologist and thought, hey, this is kind of a cool field. I think I'd like to pursue this. And he happened to have an optometrist working for him. So I thought, well, let me give it a shot. I'll apply to one school. And if I get in, I guess it was meant to be. So needless to say, I got in and the rest is history. I've been pretty much in every form of eye care. I've worked for ophthalmologists. I've worked in corporate settings. And I owned a private practice for 15 years and was a high six-figure practice. And we were actually pretty laid back. We had several specialties, so I love talking about marketing those, and we'll leave that for another day, I guess, another chat. But I also started a marketing company about 10 or 15 years ago because I really enjoyed the marketing aspect of our own practice. And I think I started probably about 20, 25 years ago, really digging into how to market our practice as an optometrist and as an expert in the local demographic. So that's how the marketing aspect of it got started.
Fantastic. Now, we're going to have to take it back. Way, way, way back. I mean, you got to tell me what it was like marketing for optometry back in the day, because I know it's night and day difference in
Sure.
comparison to what it is today. So if you don't mind just maybe, taking us back in the day to what it looked like, what methods of marketing were you actually utilizing and what tricks did you have that really took your practice to the next level during that time?
Great question. I love this question. So this was this was almost pre-internet, no social media. So I think most of us, of course, were doing let's send out a postcard. So I dug a little deeper and thought, well, okay, I need to get to our demographic. Let me find out how marketers really do that. And the biggest thing that I keep telling my doctors is make sure you understand what your demographics, who your patient, your ideal patient is. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But realizing who that is and what zip code they're in, we were able to target the right people at the right time, get these postcards, get these letters to them that spoke directly to them and hit pretty much the pain points that they were having. We did some marketing research to find that out. And of course, it wasn't online. It was done with firms that knew how to do that with mailing lists. The other thing that we did that was number one. Direct mail was number one. Number two was getting into different local groups, business groups. I got into women's networking groups. I joined some BNI network, organizations that you would go once a week and talk about what you did, who your ideal client was. So just connecting, getting offline and connecting, making those connections. And it's really still pretty easy to do that these days. Of course, COVID has put a little bit of a dampen on that. but just making the right connections. Who's who in town? Who are the people that know a lot of people that might be what I call your dream 100? Who is it that they have as their connections that are your ideal patient? So connect with those people. Is it in the chambers of commerce? Is it the politicians in town? Most people that are working in the town that they're living in, they get kind of a feeling of who's who and who you need to connect with. And we dug deep. We got to know a lot of the who's who in town, and it really helped. Those were our two main forms of marketing because we couldn't do it online. Thirdly, because we had a specialty, it was real easy to get into the public relations. We got on television to promote our specialty. We were doing vision therapy, computer vision syndrome, high-end contact lenses. And at the time, we were the only practice doing vision therapy, I think, in about 100 to 150 mile radius. So it was really easy to become known as the expert, right, for vision therapy. So they were fascinated. They even came out to the practice and had the cameras on and saw what it was to actually examine a patient and how we treated them and what kind of benefits that made for them. So that was the pre-internet, pre-social media way of marketing. And it worked pretty well, and it worked very quickly, believe it or not.
I love it. And before we dig a little deeper, I just want to give a shout out to Sharon, to Gary, to Christy, to Essence. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be a great show. Tonight's show is really going to help you take your practice to the next level, especially when it comes to marketing, because we know that is the key piece that's going to put butts in those chairs. So you want to make sure you really take notes, bring out that pen, that pad, and listen carefully, because we have a rock star when it comes to marketing. Some of the things that you touched on, from many, many moons ago, right? Those things are still great for today, right? I mean, the one thing that I think that we always miss out on is that, yes, there is a digital piece to marketing, but some of those other ways are just as powerful and as effective. Maybe not right now with COVID because you can't get out, shake hands, and kiss babies, but some of those methods that you touched on can really help take that practice to the next level as well. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And, the funny thing is that you're going to start seeing more of these sort of handwritten notes and letters going out because we're so inundated with social media that we're overwhelmed. Some people are not even checking their emails anymore. So getting a handwritten note in the mail all of a sudden stands out. Unlike before, with direct mail, we were just throwing piece after piece in the trash. That's not the case anymore. So a handwritten note goes a long, long way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just thinking about it, if someone sent me a handwritten letter and I received that in the mail, the smile that would be on my face and the loyalty that I would have to that business, you just don't do that anymore. And just to experience that and have that experience is just priceless. So I'm with you 100%. When I first started practicing, I remember my practice, it was a cold start. I was with Eye Care Associates. Now it's under the My Eye Doctor umbrella, which is an incredible company, by the way. Just had to put that out there. But every patient that I had for the first year, I wrote a letter to, thanking them for giving me the opportunity to take care of their eye care needs. And ever since then, those same patients are with me to this day. They actively seek for me. They want to see Dr. Glover, and they allow me to take care of their family, and they are the biggest referrals that I have as well. So when you make it more personal, when you make it that relationship more intimate, it can really help you grow your personal brand, but also grow that practice leaps and bounds as well.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
So let's jump into it. Let's talk about it. 2021 trends for digital marketing. I don't even know where to start. I'm just going to stop running my mouth and just let you take the lead, because I'm super excited because, there's a lot of innovation and technology out there. I know a lot of times when we think of digital marketing, we think website, we think social media, but there's a lot of different pieces out there right now that's really helping to elevate that experience in that office, but also to market who you are as a brand. So if you don't mind just taking it from the top,
sure.
What's the latest and greatest out there?
Sure. So it was really good that you did what happened before the internet. So I'm going to kind of segue and say, well, from 2010 to 2020, content marketing was the sort of the verbiage and the buzzwords that we used to use. Let's just get that content out there. Let's push it out there to attract our ideal patients. Prior to that, we were pushing marketing to them, on radio, on TV, and everything that I mentioned earlier.
Sure.
So now we're actually shifting to community marketing and conversational marketing. You say, well, how's that different? Well, the pandemic actually pushed us to a lot of people to go online when they weren't necessarily getting online in the form of virtual meetings. So you're now seeing, well, we're not getting into the communities out in the real world. So we're starting to build communities virtually, even if we're within our own demographics. So in other words, let me just get my notes here.
Yeah, sure.
So conversational marketing was coined by David Cancel of Drift. And I don't know if you know who Drift is. They're a phenomenal company. They were started in Boston, and they're actually here in my hometown, Tampa Bay. And what they've developed, and it's been the past few years, is those cute little chat bots that sit at the bottom of a website that when you click on it, someone says, hey, can I help you? So what they're trying to bring to marketing is let's converse with the patients. As I mentioned before, it's really vital that we understand how our patients talk. Where are they hanging out online?
Yes.
How can we be relatable to them? How can we be relevant? So we do have to do some of that research and find out, what is their ideal spots? And again, what kind of language are they using? So that when we have some of this technology, and a lot of this is artificial intelligence. And some people are kind of getting scared when they hear artificial intelligence in marketing. Oh my gosh, that's going to get rid of all these jobs. Well, no, it's actually not. And it's going to feel like it's more impersonal. Well, no, it's actually not. There are ways that we can start using some of these chatbots, some of this artificial intelligence to be able to have some of these communications with our patients if you know how to do it correctly. You want to make some of this online stuff sound like it's actually coming from you. It's not being inauthentic. It's basically saying, hey, I may be a chatbot, but I want to go ahead and help you. How can I help you today? And then someone says something in that chatbot, and then you have certain pathways that you go down when your patient tells you what kind of a problem they're having. So you can start to automate some of this marketing, but you do it in a way that's conversational. Okay, so take that AI off the table right now, and let's get back to the conversational. When we're doing any kind of marketing where we want to start talking to our patients through email, we want to make sure that we're tagging some of those email marketing pieces to specific populations.
Okay.
So if we have some patients that tell us basically, hey, I'm interested in some of these, this high-end eyewear that you're talking about for, golfers, you want to tag those people so that every time you're sending out any kind of communication that might be talking about that, you want to send it to your golf population. So it's vital that we're getting this information up front, as we're intaking the patients, whether we have certain forms or we're just typing into our EMRs, but we want to make sure that we're personalizing our marketing. If we don't do that, we're definitely going to lose to the competition.
Yeah, I love this. And simply because, number one, it helps to streamline the process. In the office, you have your front desk team, which really controls, the flow and the direction of what's going to happen when a patient comes in. But with this chat box or this AI, instead of someone calling and having to speak to someone up front, they can do more shaking hands and kissing babies, and that can direct them to, is this a routine eye exam or is this a medical office visit? If it is a medical office visit, is it, red eye, or is it back of the eye with flashes and floaters? So it seems like it can help streamline that process and allow the team members that's in the office to have more hands-on with the patients that are there. That way they can make it the ultimate experience. I mean, is that kind of the direction that we're seeing
Absolutely.
into?
Absolutely. So that's in the scheduling. So by the time they get to the person appropriately, they're going to know exactly what they need to do. So it's not more waiting and figuring out what has to happen. But it's also just for marketing, because somebody might be trying to figure out, I'm not even sure that this is the doctor that I want. So that you have certain marketing set up that when they start asking some of the questions, you're able to actually dig a little bit deeper and ask the right questions to get to the pain point. Sometimes it may look like when someone's just questioning, they're just calling, sort of kicking the tires. that you're able to actually dig a little deeper with just some of these questions, almost like a survey, but again, it's made to feel much more personalized so
Right.
that they feel like they're being taken care of without feeling like, there's so many people that don't even want to talk to somebody yet.
Yeah.
They want to get to the point as quickly as they can, and you can streamline it with those kind of setups, those automations that you have.
So I want to dig a little deeper into this tagging.
Sure.
When I hear tag, I think, okay, Instagram, Facebook, I could tag someone. But you mentioned tagging in the email. How is that even
Yeah,
possible? Could you give a little history or background about how that's possible, or what software
sure.
you recommend, or just a little background?
Sure. Pretty much any of the email campaign softwares out there, whether it's Aweber, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, any of those, when you do something called the lead gen, which means you might have some sort of offer out there that you're trying to attract new patients. So you might mention something like, you come into the office, we have, cleaning, things for your eyeglasses,
Yeah.
or you might offer, again, you have to be careful with HIPAA and you have to be careful with your state laws. But if you're offering a free retinal exam, retinal screening, etc., that you're capturing those names. And because of the particular offer, you might have 10 different offers out there just to build the email list that you're able to market to these folks, that you're able to tag them inside the software. So if someone, let's say, for instance, they've contacted you because they're interested, your lead gen sort of gives them an idea that it might be for some sort of a diabetic eye screening. So you can tag them as a potential diabetic patient, so that any information that you want to give out that has to do with, you're pushing out any kind of marketing information that has to do with diabetes, they will receive that information. They may not be interested in the golfing classes,
Right.
but they're interested in anything that you have to say that has to do with diabetes. Again, you have to be careful. There are certain details that HIPAA requires for you to do that. So I just, recommend that you check with that. But it's a wonderful aspect, because personalization is one of the trends of 2021. And I think it's something like 60 or 70% of companies are doing that, because it's important for the patient, for the user. Where, from the other side of it, as a user, we're tired of feeling like you're being generic with me.
Yeah.
I'm tired of getting information that's
Or
not
being spam,
specific to my
right?
needs.
Or being spam
Exactly.
in general. Like, if you can shoot me exactly what I like to look at and what I want to purchase, then that's just going to make everyone happy. Me as the customer, the consumer, and then also you as a business, because it's going to increase more to your bottom line. It's cutting all the
Absolutely.
BS out the way and getting straight to the point, and straight to the money, and straight to creating that experience that the patients or consumers really are looking for.
Right. And it builds that trust. There's a phrase in marketing that you want your potential patients to know, like, and trust you as quickly as they can. Well, when you start personalizing your information, and again, it sounds a little contradictory because we've talked about automating things with AI, but there are ways of personalizing that so the potential patient feels like you're really talking to them. So now you bring that to the next level of doing that with emails. Again, emails, when you're doing email marketing, there may be anywhere from a 20 to 30% open rate. So the more that you can personalize it, and the more that the end user feels like, wow, they're really talking to me, the more chance they're going to actually open that email, especially if they've signed up. Newsletters are coming back, believe it or not. It's even surprised me. It's huge right now in the industry, in the marketing industry. Please get your newsletter out there. And again, I can drop some resources for your audience in a bit about that, what to look for. But again, when you're tagging people, or when people say, yes, I want to get your newsletter, you can let people know what's in the newsletter. Typically, you might have 5 sections that you talk about very specific things.
Sure.
So they can hone right in on that one section and say, oh, okay, here's my weekly newsletter. I'm going to see what's the latest thing in contact lenses for people, for people my age, so to speak. So these are the kind of things, that are happening now. But personalization, absolutely, very, very important.
Fantastic. Well, I want to know more, but before we jump to that, I have to circle back to something that you mentioned earlier. You kind of just put it in there casually. I forgot. You're in Tampa. Tampa Bay won last night.
Let me tell you.
How excited are you?
What a game. What a game. Unbelievable. Yeah, it was incredible.
Uh,
Very excited. And you know what? And I'm from New England. So
oh my
I
goodness.
found, yeah, I found out I'm more of a Tom Brady fan than I am a Patriots fan. So, and I have to say I'm located in Tampa Bay, so I have to do that. But it was incredible. So he's just amazing. You know, love him or hate him, he is the GOAT, and he is the best at what he does. So
Well, Dr. Sanders, I
love
guess
it,
it's
love
safe to say the reason he came to Tampa Bay is because of you, because you were a
it. It's
fan.
got to
Found
be.
out you were
I
down
was here
there.
first.
He was like, "I'm going where Dr. Sandy is," and
That's right.
he's there, and he won. So congratulations! And I know
Yeah,
the city had a great time yesterday, and
yeah.
look forward to seeing what he does next. But
Yeah.
let's kind of circle back to the additional trends. What's next up?
Sure. So this isn't necessarily new, but it's just become more and more important is video marketing. What
Okay.
you and I are doing right here is absolutely important. Sometimes it's hard to convince my doctors that they need to get in front of the camera. They'd rather stay behind the camera. There are ways to do that, but again, that same thing, know, like, and trust. The fastest route to get someone to know, like, and trust you is to be able to see you on camera. They can see your facial expressions, how you talk. You know, after we get off this call, I think some of your viewers might start thinking, hey, I feel like I know Sandi now. I know she lives in Tampa Bay and she likes she likes Tom Brady. So there's just this connection. And more than ever, because of the pandemic, we need to feel that connection. So, you know, as much as we possibly can, you have done a phenomenal job. You know that I feel that with you, of getting in front of the camera and doing all the right stuff. So you know, if it's once a week, once a month, just something to show up, I certainly would recommend more often. You know, and I've got tons of ideas. You know, I've got lists on my website of different things that you can do with video, and, you know, whether it's just showing around the office, something fun about one of your team members, et cetera, et cetera. So there's just so many things that you can do with video.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, that's one of the main issues that they have, right? Is figuring out the right content. And whenever I'm talking to other doctors, I always just tell them to start with their office, like you stated, or their team members, or really
Yep,
talk about something that you're passionate about that, you know, correlates to what
absolutely.
you do for a living. So if you have someone that, like one of my colleagues, Dr. Lena, she's based out of Miami. She loves the cycle, right? So, you know, really
Yeah.
just talking about or taking a video of her on a bike and talking about the eyewear that she's wearing and why she chose that style frame and the lens color. And it makes you now the expert in that local area about everything that you're talking about. And you see how it, you know, goes back to optometry, but it also goes back to your passion. And, you know, you're going to get a lot of folks that'll come in and just start that conversation in that exam room just simply because they saw something that they could relate to online, and have that topic of conversation as soon as they walk in. So you really just have to dig into your passion, but also just start in your office and take the baby steps, and it'll grow into something big and major.
Right, absolutely. And that's brilliant. Absolutely a brilliant idea to do that. So love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it. Here's something really silly that I just discovered, and it's right from the mouth of Elon Musk. Is memes are huge.
Yes.
You know, scrolling down the you know, the feed, getting all of a sudden a meme pops out. So you know, somebody said I think it was him, said it's the new currency of the internet. So so get those memes going. And you know, the most important thing, and he was concerned about this, is get it in the right context. So you want to make sure that your memes are in good context. A couple of softwares that I recommend: Canva. I'm sure you've heard of that.
I love
You can create some. Yeah, so do I. In there all the time. And then the other one is Capwing, KAPWING.com. Capwing is a good one to have. It just, you know, you can create the memes really, really fast.
Yeah.
So that's something. Making sure that whenever you're on the different social medias, I know we were going to kind of segue to that, but make sure that you're putting, you know, geofencing, geotagging. Make sure that you're putting where you're located. Obviously, you want to put your practice location if you're talking about something to do with the practice. You know, there are different platforms that actually, when, you know, ways to market to people as they get closer to your practice is actually going to pop up.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. You want to also make sure that on your Google local business listing, first and foremost, make sure that you get that out there and make sure that you're optimizing it. I'm going to flip the light on because I see I'm getting pretty dark here, Daryl. So
no
a
worries.
little real life stuff here. Hang on a second.
just to kind of recap, you guys, right now we have Dr.
Favorite
Sandi on the
camera.
line, and she's really breaking down 2020 trends for digital marketing. And we've touched on everything from just, having more of a conversation to video, to memes, to now the topic at hand, with geotagging and the importance of that, and how, if someone's in your area and you have that geotagging, your information, it sounds like, may pop up before your competition. So, I mean, these are great tips and jewels that you can implement into your practice day in and day out. That way you can bring more people into your office, but also, shut down the competition that's around you, because a lot of folks aren't doing these things. And these are just little things that can add up and really increase your bottom line and really increase your loyalty to your practice. You want to make sure that you're taking notes. But Dr. Sandi, continue on with the geotag, and I'm interested in learning more about
Well,
this.
yeah, it's really important that there's, we call it the Internet of Things. Think about all of our cars now, our smart cars, and we have our computers in the car. And now we're using voice. When you call out and say, what's the closest restaurant, et cetera, getting your practice on Google Maps is also going to help you get into the Internet of Things. So all these other devices, voice, our the internet in the car, or devices in the car, we want to make sure that we have our location in there. It doesn't always take right away, but the more that you can be listed, optimize the listing, and drive traffic to it, the more chance that when someone actually is asking for a certain location of something, your practice may actually show up on the map. So real cool, real important.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I want to kind of break down something in a little more detail. You mentioned voice. I had read somewhere a while back
yeah,
that voice is a big deal, and it's something that
it's a very
healthcare
big deal.
professionals should really get into, simply because you now have, your Alexas, your Siris, and all those other things. How important is that to, add to the mix of marketing, and how do you even go about marketing in that direction? I mean, it seems like a cool concept, and I get it, but how does that work?
It's huge, and when you've got someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's huge in the marketing world, and he likes to be sort of a prophet and tell you what's going to work and what's not. He thinks that voice is going to be major in the next 10 years. So again, there are certain, and I'll drop some links and stuff. There's ways to make it happen more quickly,
Okay.
but again, Google local business is one of the most important things you can do, because Google is attached to voice. So when you can get yourself in the listings, the Apple
Uh,
Maps listing, obviously, let me go back a little bit with a demographic, with us being a local business, a local practice. The most important thing you want to do is get on Google in the top 3 locations, the 3-pack, or
okay.
even something called the 0 location, which is kind of difficult to get. But just by optimizing that local listing and then getting reviews, and we can talk about that at a later date, but getting those ethically and appropriately is going to help you get into those first 3. Because let's face it, if you're not in those top 3, then you're probably not going to get a phone call. So it's vital that you first optimize that, so that your location plus the word optometrist or eye doctor, or optometrist, eye doctor plus your location, gets you to the top. Then secondly, you want to drive traffic for any of your blog posts or social media, so that you start to drill down in what you are an expert in. So first get found for those words, then get found with the specialties by just writing content. And again, voice, if you're in the car and you're asking where a certain location is, you want to hope that your practice is listed there. Voice is vital. And, if you can get into Alexa's directory, et cetera, when you say something to Alexa or say something to Siri, that they're going to know who you are.
Yeah, you see, when it really hit me was maybe 2 years ago. My niece, she's now 10. We were doing something, and my father was like, "Morgan, or what is the answer to this?" And she didn't know the answer, so she said, "Alexa, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah." And Alexa gave the answer, and I was like, "Well, this is going to be something that's
Right.
going to be major down the road, because people are no longer typing stuff into the phone; they're just doing the voice." To ask a question and get an answer. So I understand exactly what you're saying. That's going to be a big piece down
Huge.
the road. So you guys got to look out for that, because that's a game changer. You get ahead of the game now before someone else does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to segue into our last little?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about social media marketing in general. I mean, I know everyone's familiar with our Facebook, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, TikTok. If you don't mind, just maybe touching on those a little bit, and then I want to dive into something that's new, known as
Sure.
Clubhouse. But just take it from the top, maybe with Facebook, if you don't mind, just stating the importance of that.
Sure. I think the big thing, the what's new, and a lot of people might be hearing about this, is the Facebook advertising and Facebook versus Apple. They're not happy with each other right now, or I should say, Facebook's not real happy with Apple. Apple really cares about their end user. They care about their privacy, so they are giving the Apple users a choice as to whether or not they want their information to be tracked. So, in other words, it's that thing when you go and look something up on the internet on your phone, and all of a sudden it shows up on Facebook. You looked up a certain kind of tennis racket, and now you're getting served up all these tennis racket web, advertisements on Facebook. That all has to do with tracking some things that are happening behind the scenes. Something called pixels that Facebook, you can put one on your website. And, I don't want to go into too much detail in the technical, but what's happening is now it's not getting rid of the ability to advertise on Facebook. It's just making it more difficult to feel like what I talked about, personalized marketing. It's going to now be a little more difficult to be able to serve up that more personalized type of ad and feel like, oh, Facebook knows me. They're talking to me. That's going to be a lot harder to do. So they're kind of scrambling, trying to figure out, how they can work around that. It hasn't hit the Android yet, but I'm pretty much thinking that if it's happening in Facebook, it's probably going to happen with the Google products and Android, et cetera. So,
Wow.
so that's interesting. As far as trends, again, the same thing that we talked about, video, getting on live video is on all of the platforms, I think is one of the best things you can do. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that much in TikTok, but it's huge.
Yeah.
I've seen some amazing, amazing accounts that are absolutely killing it on TikTok. And it's just, short form video. That's happening on Instagram. When you see Instagram copying somebody with
Yeah.
reels, then
Yeah.
they know it's something. So if you can just come up with, again, either the behind the scenes like you're seeing with stories, or doing these quick form videos, whether it's a how-to that you can push out, within 15 or 30 seconds, or something that's entertaining, that again is hitting your patient, your favorite, your ideal patient, because you know what kind of content they want. That's really big, and recommending, the experts are recommending once a week if you can push
Okay.
it. It doesn't have to be every day. Some experts are going to tell you the more the merrier. No, do what's right for you. Do what feels right to you, and what's not going to overwhelm you or kill you. And just go on 2 or 3 of your favorite sites. First of all, if you can, find out where your patients are hanging out. Survey your patients, find
Right.
out where they're hanging out online, and then go to those places. Do what you enjoy. If you enjoy writing, really do the blog posts, do the social media, but more textual. If you enjoy video because it's quick and easy, get on video, and make sure that if you're taping the video, that you're uploading it natively to each platform. Do not bring it in from YouTube, or they don't like it. The platforms don't like it when you take them off of their site. So make sure that you're uploading it natively.
And with that upload natively, I mean, that's one piece, but what if you have a link going to another platform like LinkedIn to YouTube? Is that
Yeah,
gonna
they do not like it.
don't like
They
that
do
at
not
all?
like it. No, they do not like it. No, I highly recommend you get videos on YouTube, because, as I always say,
Nothing
the
wrong
number
with
one
search
search
engine.
the number one search engine is Google, and the number 2 search engine is not what everybody thinks. It's actually YouTube. It is a search engine. It's not a social media platform. And who owns YouTube? Well, Google does.
Right.
So the more that you can put your videos up there and market them, the better. But again, each social media platform prefers native content. LinkedIn right now tends to prefer just text. I still put up images. I've had a lot of luck putting up documents that tend to come in as a slideshow. So if you can create a nice document, you can look at my LinkedIn and see what I've done. On Canva, I've created these sort of PowerPoint type of PDFs. And when I upload them to LinkedIn, I'm getting a lot of views, and I'm getting, more engagement than I am anything else.
So you're seeing more
So
text on LinkedIn. For me, it's a mixed bag, right? Like some things hit, some things don't. Like I did a
exactly.
the
Just
other day of me getting my vaccine shot and
yeah,
mentioning Pfizer, and the first couple of days it was slow, and then all of a sudden it just took off. And then I may post a video, and the video may do well or it may not do well, and it may not
sure,
be doing well because I'm actually linking it back to the Defocus Media website or back to the YouTube channel as well.
right.
I guess I understand what you're saying. Taking someone off that platform, that's not going to be the most ideal setup. But if it's
Yeah,
probably like a website that's on a Google whatever, you can do it through Google as like how One and One and all those other different platforms
sure.
are linking it to YouTube. Then that makes sense because they're sister companies and they're sharing with each other. So you shouldn't get dinged on that too much.
Well, and here's no, you don't. And here's, I mean, naturally, we do want to push people off. We want to send them to our own blog. We want to
Yeah.
drive traffic. So, one of the tricks that still seems to work, and I hate to make it sound like a trick, but go ahead and do your post, then wait a little bit, and then put the link in the comment, and then you can update the post and say, "Hey, the link is in the comment for what I just wrote." It actually still works, and I get this right from the highest experts on all the different platforms. So that's a way that you can do it. Again, I definitely, I mean, we want to push traffic to our other platforms and
Sure.
to our own blog posts.
Sure.
And again, this has not changed. It's always best to start with your blog first and then go out, because we own our own blog. That is our own real estate. Whereas all
Right.
these other social platforms, they could disappear in a day. It's happened. So it's important to remember that, to start there and then take that content and bring it everywhere else, whether you're just duplicating it or you're shortening it and then pointing it to the main piece.
Wow. So this is all great information. I mean, one other thing that I want to really touch on this evening is this new platform known as Clubhouse. But before we jump into Clubhouse, we did have a question about how do you get into a voice directory? Do you have any insight in how this actually
you
works?
know, there is a way to do it, and I'm embarrassed to tell you I don't know the exact method, but I'm going to get that for you, because that's what I do if I don't have the answer right now. But there is a way to get into the voice directory directly. So I will get that information to you.
Fantastic.
We'll drop a
Fantastic.
link.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. Make sure that you reach out to Dr. Sandy. We'll have her contact information up here shortly, and she does deliver when she says she will.
Well,
Uh,
what I'll do, I'll actually write a blog post, and what I'll do is put that link to I'm going to put it in the comments. Yeah, because I'm sure you're going to put this link up somewhere, so this video up somewhere. So when you do, I'll go ahead and put the link directly to that information. So anytime I get a question and I'm not sure, I go ahead and do it. I write a blog post about it.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about something that
Right.
has really
Sure.
changed the game in marketing and just education and just life in general. It's the buzz right now, Clubhouse. Tell us a little bit about Clubhouse. How did it
Sure.
start? If you don't mind, just tell me about your experience in Clubhouse, and
Sure.
let's just learn a little bit more about it.
Absolutely. So I believe it was back in March that it started, and Paul Davison and Rohan Seth are the founders, and these guys have a long, long list of credentials in the internet world. Having their hands either as founders, co-founders in major, major companies out there. So these guys know what they're doing. Um, I believe it hit, like I said, in March. I got involved in, I think it was November. It seemed to be initially more for creators, performers, musicians. And then all of a sudden, somebody in the marketing world got a hold of it, and it's by invitation only right now because it is in beta. I know there's over 1 million people on the platform. They are going to open it up to the general public. Rumor has it March or April. Android users will be able to. Right now, it's just for the iPhone, but they've put out a call to engineers for the Android platform. So we know they're fast and furious trying to get everybody on there. It's an amazing, amazing voice app. They sort of give you that FOMO, that fear of missing out, because it is by invitation only. So already you sort of have this elite feeling like, ooh, I have to get on it. And all of a sudden this buzz just started happening in all of the marketing arenas that I hang out in. And so I did get the invitation and was able to invite others as well. And took a tour around. I spent a couple of days really digging into the app, and it's basically you just enter or create rooms where other people are in there and you get up on stage or you sit in an audience and listen. And there's just any topic under the sun that you can imagine. There are people that are conducting rooms, and we could talk a little bit about, you and I had the fortune of moderating our own room, but I tend to hang out in rooms that talk about marketing. I want to hear from all these experts. As you can tell, I'm humble in saying I'm not an expert. I'm always on the road there, and I I'm like the reporter. I am 80% researching, 20% implementing, or 15% implementing, and then 5% telling about it. So I'd like to switch that around because I absolutely love telling others what I learn. So anyway, so it's just absolutely taken the marketing world by storm. Um, it's it's it gives people a platform that they might not ordinarily feel comfortable being on. There are a lot of people. It's interesting because a lot of the rooms that I go into are people coming up on stage that time after time say that they've never had the courage to get in front of the camera.
Mhm.
They're very nervous about getting on stage, but then as soon as they start talking, you can feel they start to relax and they really enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I
So
agree with you 100%. And like you said, we were able to moderate a room together, and it was amazing. We had a lot of our colleagues that joined in, and they learned more about digital marketing, especially when it comes to websites and just knowing what's underneath the hood of a website. I mean, you dropped a lot of gems and knowledge in regards to that, and I really enjoyed it. The one piece that I love about Clubhouse is really that, like you mentioned, there's anything you can think of, there's a conversation about. So for
yeah,
me, I like to look at other disciplinaries in healthcare. So like dermatology, I'll go to a clubhouse or a chat where they're talking about eczema or something like that, and that gives me more knowledge that I can use actually in the exam lane to talk about various things that might have been brought up, and I can go do the research. Or you can even ask a question on how should I convey this to my patients, or just make that presence known that you're an optometrist or an eye care professional, and that, hey, maybe we should collaborate more.
yeah.
Just having that presence and getting that learning and that education is a big piece. The $1 million question I have for you is this a tool that can be used for, instead of business to business or doctor to doctor, doctor to patient, doctor to consumer? Is
Yeah.
this something that we're going to see down the road with this platform, you think?
Absolutely. In fact, I just wrote an article about that. So I do think so. And I think that a really neat way to do this, obviously you'd have to market it because you don't know who's on there. You can start looking for people, but the best way to is first to put the word out that you as a doctor in a practice are on Clubhouse, give, your handle, and then tell people, schedule a time when you're going to be on there answering questions. Of course, again, you've got to have that caveat that it's they need to see their own eye doctor, but
Right.
I think you can attract potential patients by putting your location in your bio. Again, I go into detail about this in the article, and I'll put that link in there for you. But if you put, first of all, put your location, then when you actually name the room, put the location. So if I was practicing clinically and I wanted to attract potential patients, I would come up with some topic, whether it's dry eye or just talk about the symptoms. Do you suffer at the end of the day after working on the computer with itchy eyes? So
Yeah.
a little bit shorter than that because they only let so many characters in for defining the room. But then put your location, Tampa Bay or Tampa,
Yeah.
so that immediately someone, it may be somebody that's not in your location, but at least they get the information. So if by chance you have an online store, you might be able to sell them, certain nutraceuticals, et cetera. So it's not a bad thing if they're not in your town, but what a neat thing if you start marketing yourself as the doctor that's on Clubhouse, because I doubt there are a lot of doctors on there right now, and then say, hey, if you're on Clubhouse, we meet every Friday afternoon or Sunday morning, and we discuss the most common eye complications or everything that we can talk about under the sun, anything that we talk about in our marketing efforts, you can bring into Clubhouse. But there's this immediate interaction, just like we're talking here. Imagine being able to bring the folks that are typing in the chat box, all of a sudden they can talk to us.
Right.
It's almost like a lot of people are saying it's like a podcast where the listeners can actually hit a button and say, okay, I want to speak to the
Right.
podcast host,
You raise your hand.
and it's just, yeah. And it's this, the other FOMO is it's live.
Yeah.
It's very few people are actually recording it. You have to get permission from all the speakers. There's very serious, terms of service. You have to say that you're recording the room, and you have to, get permission from anybody that comes up on stage. Personally, I don't think, I think podcasters want to do that. I don't want to do that because I want people to feel comfortable in the room that we are not recording this. It's gone the moment that you leave. I do, as you know, I do have a tendency to write up some notes about the topic that we discussed, and I'll send that to any of the people that are in the room with us. So I love doing that. So they don't have to worry. They don't have to, take notes necessarily, because I'd be more than happy to send them notes. But again, the important thing is just this immediate feeling, this immediate connection where they get to know, like, and trust you because they hear your voice, they hear the intonation, they hear, do you sound like you're smiling? Are you happy, doctor?
Right.
So I think it could be very huge. And I think it's an opportunity because I don't think a lot of medical professionals are going to think that it's a way to attract patients. I think they're definitely going to think it's more B2B or a learning platform.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And for me, I really think it is a way to attract more patients. And the way that I'm looking at it is more of kind of what you touched on earlier, putting your location in your information area, your bio,
Yep.
but, participating in these different chats and then finding people that are in your local community that are not optometrists, but maybe primary care physicians or endocrinologists or dermatologists, and then them looking at you as the leader in eye care and referring their patients to you because they hear you talking,
Absolutely.
they understand you, they see that you are the expert, and it's just going to be a big referral bank. So I think it's a great platform when it comes to just really having you be an expert in whatever topic it may be related to the eyes and just really reaching out to those other colleagues that are out there. And Dr. Sandi and I would love to invite you guys out to an actual clubhouse chat where we can, talk about pretty much anything underneath the sun. And we want to link up with you guys really on Sunday, February 21st at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're just going to have a great conversation, and we can walk you through how the platform works. And as you can tell, Dr. Sandi is definitely an expert when it comes to this already. Even though she doesn't want to take that term, I'm going to give it to her. So
Thanks, my
we'll
friend.
definitely have a great conversation about this. But Clubhouse is where it's at, you guys. Don't get lost in the sauce on this one. If you want to learn more about other healthcare disciplinaries, or if you want to attract more patients to your practice and you want to get into something before it actually blows up and it's too late, this is the time to make that step and make that jump and make that commitment.
I'm gonna give you one more tip that you're definitely going to be positioned for. It is, I challenge you to go find another, like you're saying, someone in the healthcare field, and instead of just jumping up on stage with them, go ahead and moderate a room with them, Daryl. That's one of my tips that I've got in that article that I just mentioned, is just go find out those other doctors that are smart enough to be on Clubhouse and in your location, and then moderate a room together, and just think at how many more patients you both could reach, because you're at least doubling or tripling. Get three of you.
Yep.
So that you've got across the different disciplines. So,
well, this
awesome.
has been fantastic. I've learned so much as always. I just love to just sit down and listen and take my notes while you're talking, because you are just, you're a wealth of knowledge. I mean, when it comes to digital marketing, when it comes to marketing in general, you truly do take it to the next level. And every time that you're on a stage, or if you're talking about this, I see the passion. I understand where you're coming from, and I just love it. So thank you so much, Dr. Sandi, for hanging out with me today. I have a lot of colleagues out there that may want to take their practice to the next level and want to learn more about digital marketing, or have you help them with that. If you don't mind, just really leaving your contact information so our wonderful colleagues out there can reach out to you and ask you all the tough questions and not me, because I don't want those questions. I'm putting them your way.
Well, the best way you can reach out is just either here on LinkedIn or at drsandieveleth.com. And I actually do hourly consulting. I have a calendar. It's at drsandieveleth.com/book Dr. Sandi. So I'll send you all those links. And My handle on Clubhouse is at Dr. Sandi Eveleth. So look forward to seeing everybody in there, or actually hearing everybody in there.
Very true, very true. Mine is at Dr. Daryl Glover, and that's all my handles on social media. So feel free to follow me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. We look forward to hanging out with you guys next time. Matter of fact, this time next week, I'll be hanging out with this guy that everyone knows. His name is Dr. Chris Levens. He actually just dropped a new podcast on the Defocus Media platform. So you guys go check it out because we dropped it today. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. You guys stay blessed, healthy, and positive. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.